This week on Previews World Weekly, we find out if Disney is planning to erase their sequel trilogy in Star Wars, find out that Negan lives, and if we can separate the artist from their art. It's all happening right now on Previews World Weekly.
What's up, Previews World? It's Wednesday. It is New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for Previews World Weekly. I am one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I am your other host, Ashton Greenwood, aka the Duchess of Free Comic Book Day, and Free Comic Book Summer is upon us in 2 weeks' time. Right?
Yes. Good. You want to give people just a quick rundown of what Free Comic Book Day Summer entails, or Free Comic Book Summer entails, I should say.
Yeah, you got to knock that off.
I know. I always want to put the day in there, but that's not the case. It's better than that.
So basically, we've taken our beloved Free Comic Book Day, restructured it, reformatted it, spread it out across the summer to accommodate different state and local safety regulations. So you'll be able to go to your local comic shop every week from July 15th all the way through September 9th. And there will be 5 to 6 different titles you can get absolutely free as part of Free Comic Book Summer. These are the titles we announced earlier. So same thing, if you want a refresher, or if you want to figure out when certain books will be available, head to freecomicbookday.com, and the full release schedule is available there.
And thank you for doing that, Ashton, because I did not want to start the episode on a down note, but I do have to start the episode on a down note, but I at least wanted something to buffer what I'm about to say next. You know what, Ashton? I swear, if someone else passes away, you're going to have to do this announcement next week. I swear to God, I'm not doing this anymore.
Everyone stop dying.
Everyone stop dying. 2020 is enough of a mess. Okay, look, Joe Sinnott. I would say he's one of the Marvel's main pioneers. One of the people that have created the Marvel style, if you want to call it, that ushered in the Marvel Age of Comics, which is also considered the Silver Age of Comics. But Joe Sinnott passed away this past week. He is, of course, the inker behind Jack Kirby and Stan Lee's Fantastic Four. And if you know anything about the history of the Marvel books or the history of comics in general, you'll note that the initial first, I want to say, 4 issues of Fantastic Four were not done by Sinnott. And when he stepped in, the book gradually developed a style that would ultimately become the Fantastic Four as we recognize them today. So he's very integral, not just to the Marvel mythos, but also to the Silver Age in general. I would say that his influence is up there with Mort Weisinger and Kurt Swan and some of the stuff that they did over DC a few years prior. And, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, he's one of the, he would be on that Mount Rushmore of creators. Also, something I did not realize that I recently found out about him, up until 2019, he was still doing artwork. He was doing the Spider-Man comic strip that's in the newspapers still, which is impressive because he was in his 90s. And they're comic book creators who, the unsaid truth of comic book artists is that ultimately, their hands kind of give out, and all that wear and tear of drawing kind of takes its toll over the years. And Joe Sinnott was still doing artwork at 90, which is absolutely impressive. So I just want to give a little head nod to Joe Sinnott. I'm a Marvel shill, Ashton. And he's one of he's on that Mount Rushmore of comic book creators. He really did usher in help usher in a new era. And I would say he's going to be missed, which I'm sure he will be for his family and friends. But truthfully, his legacy is intact. He made his stamp on this planet. So shout out to Joe Sinnott. And please, people, stop dying. God. Oh God. And actually, I have another one I'm going to mention later in the show too, which is awful. But yes, thank you, Lex Ward. Thank you very much. Rest in peace, Joe Sinnott. Farewell. Yeah, it sucks. It's the reality we're in, I guess. I don't know any other way to put it. You know what? Let's not talk about this reality anymore. Let's talk about a galaxy far, far away. Ashton, what did you see this week that will hopefully uplift us or maybe start a different conversation than the one we're having right now?
I am shook to discover this, you guys. Okay, so Cosmic Book News published an article yesterday sourcing sourced from a YouTube video from like a nerd commentator called Overlord Doomcock, and he talked about right, crazy name. Happy for him.
We're gonna gloss over that. We're just gonna keep going.
Can't do anything about his YouTube handle.
No.
But so basically, this talked about the possibility of Disney basically nullifying the sequel trilogy, effectively erasing it from the Star Wars canon. And so this is kind of couched in a big internal civil war at Disney Lucasfilm between Kathleen Kennedy, whom you know I hate, Troy.
Jeez. Okay, fair enough. All right.
And Jon Favreau, who
okay.
The Mandalorian.
Right, yeah.
To give some context there. And so basically what this is they want to use a concept that was recently introduced in Star Wars Rebels, called the Veil of the Force, which basically explains the convergence of space and time within the Force as a mystical dimension. Okay. And so they want to use this Veil of the Force to essentially, it is very complicated. Like, read the whole article. It's extremely complicated. But basically what they want to do is draw the Emperor into the Veil of the Force and kill him, which I'm not sure who it is that's doing this killing. It seems a little vague at the moment, but they want to draw the Emperor into the Veil of the Force, kill him, and that would effectively keep him, however you want to look at it, dead at the end of the Return of the Jedi. And that effectively undoes episodes 6 through 9. And to explain it simply, to put it simply, what the Veil of the Force will do is take episodes 6 through 9, pick it up, move it into an alternate reality, and leave it there outside of the Star Wars canon. So it does two things. It creates a multiverse, and it also creates this weird concept of like Disney Star Wars versus Lucasfilm Star Wars.
Right, yeah. Huh. I mean, weren't we already doing that though? Like, I mean, like, weren't we already doing the alternate reality thing with the expanded universe versus the God, I forgot what they called it. The current whatever it is, like the old stuff that basically we grew up on versus the new stuff that that was ushered in with Force Awakens. I thought technically we were already doing that, right? So I don't know. I don't know
because like in this, it like, from like a canon standpoint, it gets rid of like Rey, Finn, Poe, everybody that's new, and it kind of feels like it gets rid of like Luke drinking the green milk, which we all hated, and Leia flying through space like Mary Poppins, which we also all hated.
I was okay with that, actually. I mean I like, truthfully, I feel all the judgment coming through the screen. Like, the only reason I was up is because it was the one thing I wanted from these new movies, this trilogy, was Leia the Jedi. And like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, thank God they're actually going to do this. Now,
but then they retconned it sort of with like Leia never finished her Jedi training.
Yeah.
I feel you there. I'll co-sign like wanting Leia as a Jedi, but girl, flying through space for no real reason is super corny.
It is. It wasn't the best visual choice, and I wish they had introduced that a little bit smoothly in Force Awakens. But woulda, coulda, shoulda. I'm trying to get past this Star Wars thing at this point.
But it seems like you won't have to, because we're just gonna undo it and act like. I have mixed feelings about this.
Yeah, because, I was gonna ask.
I love The Mandalorian. Like, we've talked about this a number of times. It feels the most like Star Wars of any of the newest Star Wars properties that have been created. So if we're trying to head in from like a cinematic standpoint in the direction of The Mandalorian, I am all for that. And I don't think Kathleen Kennedy did a good job with the properties. I don't think she did right by them. But at the same time, it feels like such a massive slap in the face to, like, Carrie Fisher's not with us anymore. So it's kind of like you've undone like her last stab at the Star Wars universe. So that kind of like sits weird with me.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, first of all, it's kind of like they're doing what they did.
Look at this comment.
John Barley. That would be so stupid. You know what? I'm actually going to co-sign Johnny on this. Like, I like, first of all, this is essentially, it sounds like to me, okay, there's a lot to unpack here. I'm not gonna do all of it, but I will point this out. First of all, the guy's YouTube channel is called Doomcock. Let's just get that out of the way right now, okay? I don't consider him a credible source. Like, and you know what? He'll get points for the reference to Preacher, because he actually got the name from Preacher. I know he did. But like, at the same time, I would not consider him a credible source at all. this sounds like something that someone made up because they watched Avengers Endgame and they automatically assumed that Disney could possibly do the same thing. And truthfully, I would much rather they just move past this. Look, 7, 8, 9 happen. Just work it in whatever way you can, and let's just move on. Like Carrie Fisher's not coming back. It's just like we can't bring Carrie Fisher back, right? So let her have her send off. Mark Hamill's kind of salty about the whole thing anyway, so he's done with it. Harrison Ford has never been about this life since day one. So okay, let's wrap it up. But yeah, I no. Drew says I'll be all for it. 7 through 9 suck. Makes me have a great appreciation for 1 through 3. You know, that's the weird irony of this. Actually, someone on Twitter's challenged people to say something nice about Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. And I actually, it was late at night, so I was like, let me say a couple of nice things about it, because I don't think I've ever said anything nice about it. But
I love the fact that you need the cover of night to say
right,
yeah.
Exactly. But there's some really nice things that can be said. So the Legends, that's what it is. The Legends. I couldn't remember the name of it. So the Legends moniker is only for books and other source material, and not the movies. I guess so. But
they were saying that this would effectively make it like a Star Wars Legends storyline. It would make 7 through 9 a Star Wars Legends storyline.
Well, no, because I don't want that heaped in the same category as the Timothy Zahn books and Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back. I don't want that either. What the sequel trilogy needs is a cartoon set between 8 and 9, like Clone Wars. I mean, you know what? I'd like maybe to pad it out to kind of put some meat to it, but I don't even want to go back to this. Like I just want them to keep moving. Just keep moving.
Right.
Just go, 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 go. Like it's still too soon about Admiral Akbar.
It is. He deserves better.
I'll give you that too. I think that's fair. All right, we need to get on to what's at comic shops. Hopefully there's no more. I imagine there's like so many more comments about this. And if we keep doing this, we're going to be here all day. So let's jump to what's at comic shops, and maybe we can come back to Star Wars in a second, okay? So yes, it is New Comic Book Day around the world. Depending on who you ask, I guess, maybe not. But for most of us, it is New Comic Book Day. And so we're going to give you guys our picks, and we're going to put you on to some stuff that's dropping this week at your local comic shop. So Ashton, I'm going to let you go first. What is your pick this week?
My pick this week is called Mars Challenge. It's from First Second Book.
Nice.
Second Books. And it's part of like this line that First Second Books is starting to tackle that basically explores certain nonfiction elements in a highly accessible way. So also available this week in the similar vein is a book about the Great Chicago Fire and also the Roanoke Colony. And so what this book does is it aims to unpack this specific, the Mars Challenge book aims to unpack the science and the logistics behind a manned mission to Mars. So like putting a man on Mars. And it does it in a way that kind of stages it as like a story and narration, but is told through facts, which is what makes it nonfiction. So basically there's this girl, Nadia, who wants to be the first woman astronaut on Mars. And then she has her friend Eleanor, who is mathematically inclined, the space whiz, so to speak. And what Eleanor functions as the fact giver, so to speak. So she walks Nadia and as an extension of that, the reader through, what obstacles there are between getting a person on Mars, and then also how you would overcome those obstacles, what scientists are currently doing to overcome those things, to face those things, and wraps it all up with a bold accusation that there will be a man on Mars in our lifetime.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Right.
Then she's not the first to say that. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and pick this up, actually, because this is one of those things that has always fascinated me. The concept of us going to Mars, especially a couple of years ago, they discovered that there was actually water on Mars.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating concept, and space travel in general is always kind of interesting. Real life space travel is always interesting to me. So yeah, I actually will pick this up. I've actually noticed a lot lately. Well, actually in the last, I want to say probably the last decade or so, I've been getting really great informative pieces of literature from comic books. Read a comic book about the 9/11 report because I would never read the nine
Oh,
eleven report
wow.
any other way.
Yeah.
But someone made it into a comic, and so I read it. You know what I mean? And there's another one over here about the nuclear disaster in Japan that I keep telling myself I'm going to read. I haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, comics are really good for just kind of making these lofty ideas a little bit more accessible. So I'm
Right.
sold on that. I'm going to read that. I love that.
Right. Sounds really cool. I saw it right away. And same as you, like the Mars challenge. I was like, okay, anything space, you got me.
Yeah,
And
right, absolutely.
I'm not a science brained person. Like it's hard for me to make my brain do those things.
Right.
So
Mhm.
the thing that is particularly compelling to me is that the information is accessible. Like I don't want a bunch of like mumbo jumbo, whatever else on, Nat Geo or the Space Channel trying to explain it to me. Like I want it concise.
Right.
I want like
Mhm.
the pictures will help. So I'm
Mhm.
sold on this too.
Right, exactly. No, I love that. It was agreed. I'm fascinated by the concept of Mars and its potential. Thank you, Joseph. No,
Hmm.
it's a cool idea. I mean, it's like the closest I think our generation will ever come to the moon landing, or
Right.
just the promise of science fiction as nerds, right? Like just the
Yeah.
promise of science fiction becoming a reality. Like this, that would probably be the biggest thing. So,
Hmm.
um, my pick this week is actually a book called Ezekiel Himes, Bounty Hunter.
Ooh.
This is from the people that did a book I love. It's not the creative team, but it's from the publisher of a book I love called Nancy and Hell. These are all Spanish language comics, or from Spanish. Zombie Hunter. These are all Spanish language comics that have been, I think, for the most part, all of them have been translated from Spanish to English, with the exception of maybe some of the Nancy and Hell stuff. But Amigo basically prides themselves on bringing Latin American creators to the forefront. And this book is about, oddly enough, like telepathic zombies.
Okay,
And
love
this,
that.
yeah, right. I mean, just when you think like, okay, we had the shambling zombies, right?
Hmm.
And now we had the running zombies, and you kind of have to ask yourself, what's
What's
next?
next?
Well, here you go. Now we have telepathic zombies. It's about this man trying to avenge his family against these telepathic zombies that they call I think it's the Fathers or
Hmm.
whatever. So really interesting. And also, I was happy to find out, because this is often the case with the comics right now, and it drives me up a wall, that the cover artist is the interior artist. And I actually really like the cover.
Hmm.
So I'm going to give this a spin, see what's up. I have enjoyed a lot of stuff from Ego in the past, especially Nancy and Hell. So I'm down for this.
Hmm.
Big ticket items this week. Ashton,
Yeah.
I'm going to let you talk a little bit about Firepower. The Prelude is
Mhm.
dropping this week, and I know you know all about it. We were joking earlier. I feel like this book has been coming out forever.
Bro, it really has. I feel like I've been talking about this book since January.
I think you probably have, actually.
Great. Do you know why? Because it was a free comic book day book.
Yeah,
So you still can get Firepower #1 for free. It's keeping its like free stats or whatever. So it's at comic shops today. You can go in, get it for free. Image just had to get a move on with this because
nice.
of the prelude and then the additional stories coming out in the coming months. So Firepower #1 is basically about this man. His name is Owen Johnson,
Mhm.
and he just wants to be left alone, like all of us. Like he just wants to be left alone. He wants to live his life. But of course, he is.
There's a little projecting there. Okay.
Sorry.
Has it been a hard week, Ashton?
It's been happening. Something's been happening.
It has. It's true. That's true. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Samuel Davis says, "Yeah, picked up my first free comic book day comic today. Firepower. All right, there you go. See, it's happening, guys. Free comic
See?
book summer is happening." I'm sorry, but what were you saying? Can you give us a little rundown of what it's about,
Oh,
real quick?
yeah. So Owen Johnson basically just wants to be left alone to live his life, and it turns out that he is a descendant of the firepower. And
Mm,
so it's basically think like firebending meets going Super Saiyan. That's pretty much what
mm.
firepower is.
Okay.
And so he's thrust into this quest to save the world and all of your regular nonsense. But the high point here is that it is from Robert Kirkman. Today is kind of a day of Robert Kirkman. Has a couple things releasing today.
Mhm.
So this is his newest story after the Walking Dead is how this was originally billed, although that has turned out to also not be true.
There's been a lot of upheaval lately, so it's okay. I'll give him a pass on that one, actually. Actually, I mean, but it's good news because we were talking about this last week on the show. One of the other Kirkman books this week is actually Negan Lives. And he was actually inspired by the current status of the industry and like the need to do something to bolster and
Mhm.
support comic book stores. And so wisely, he decided, you know what, people of Walking Dead, people love Negan. Let me give him a little one-shot story here featuring that's like basically called Negan Lives. So yeah, that's one of the titles out this week. Also out this week, The Goddamned. Jason Aaron, I think this is the sequel to the original Goddamn. I don't think there's been 3 books. I think this is the second book or the second series he's done for. But yeah, from Jason Aaron, of course, is the writer of Avengers. He did Scalps. He's done like pretty much everybody's favorite book at some point in time. That's another one that's out this week. The Boys, Dear Becky. That's another one out this week. Number 2 is dropping, and that cover says it all, doesn't it? I mean, if there's a better way to describe The Boys, I think that cover does it. The Goon is another one dropping this week. Also, Femforce is another title that you could keep an eye out for as well. And I got to give a shout out to the X-Men. Dawn of X, Volume 6 is out this week. The thing I love about this is, I'll be honest with you, DC has traditionally been good about collecting events in trade paperback. Marvel, not always great about it. And so finally they're doing something here, which is basically, they know they have this line-wide event that is basically the Dawn of X. It's just a Jonathan curated thing that he's doing with all the X-Men books, right? He's not writing all of them, but he's definitely curating all of them. And so what they've been doing is they've been putting all the issue 1s in one volume in volume 1, all the issues 2s in volume 2, all the issue 3s in volume 3, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so now we're on volume 6. So you can actually play along and read along and actually be up to date on these books if you're just following the trades, which I absolutely love. And hopefully that's a trend that we'll see more and more in the future. Actually, speaking of X-Men, I got to give a shout out to this. I saw that this past week. I recommend everybody goes to check it out. There's a short film that's been floating around online called Gambit. Gambit Play for Keeps. And anybody who knows me knows that I hate the X-Men movies. Like the same way that Ashton hates the Star Wars movies, I hate the X-Men movies. I think that I think someone pointed out actually earlier this week on Twitter, they were like, the X-Men movies have misinformed the public about what the X-Men are. Yeah. Which is, I feel very strongly about that. And like, it's just so happens that this martial artist Nate Bateman and director Jensen Noen have came together back in 2017 to put together this short film. And I guess like it was a labor of love, when you're doing things on a shoestring budget, sometimes it takes time to come out. And so finally they dropped it this past week. And as you can see, it's got Eric Roberts in it, which only underlines the idea that Eric Roberts will play in anything. And that's not a slight against Eric Roberts. I love character actors. I love actors who are just like, Samuel Jackson's in that same category. He's just like, yeah, I'll do it, Yeah. And so look at that. I mean, that's so cool. Like, we've never gotten a Gambit moment as cool as that in anything. Right. It's a 20-minute short film. It's X-Men in its probably purest form. And on top of that, I got to point out, it's a little foul-mouthed, which was the one thing I didn't love about it, because like there's definitely a couple of like F-bombs and whatnot. I'm like, that's not really a an X-Men thing to be that. I know people loved Logan, but Logan's garbage. Yeah. You heard me say it. Oh. But it's got Rogue, it's got magic in it. Magic's kind of inexplicably in the story. Like, it's not really, the thing she does isn't really recognizably magic, but I'll take it. Okay. I'll take it. I don't care. I'll take it over any other X-Men movie that we've had before. So X-Men 2 was good. Joseph, yeah, I love Eric Roberts. Yeah, Eric Roberts is great in a lot of stuff. Actually, I got a lot of flack for saying Dead or Alive was a good video game movie. And Eric Roberts is in that too. We'll talk about that later, actually, because Ashton put me on blast and fed me to the jackals of Free Comic Book Day.
I'm not sorry.
I know you're not sorry. It's okay. Anyway, how about a trailer real quick? So there's a big event coming. It's called Empire. It's coming from Marvel Comics. And we got a little trailer for you guys. It's coming up in, I want to say, another 2 weeks. So take a look at this trailer. When we come back, we'll give you guys a little bit more detail on this one. How about that? Check it out.
My people, you are Kree and you are Skrull. Orphans of Skrullos. Orphans of Allah. Your war has run hot and cold for 1,000 years. Since the dawn of civilization as we know it. Your conflict created the Star Sword I hold. I am the living embodiment of your war. And today, I call an end to it. We are the Alliance. And in all the galaxy, we have only one enemy. this enemy. The final war begins now.
And that was the trailer for Empire, which is dropping later this month. It's actually July 15th. I got to say, I love that trailer. I think that is probably one of the better comic book trailers I've seen in a long time. And I also want to point out that it's coming from Dan Slott and Al Ewing. So it's actually a great writing combo. And Valerio Schitti, whose artwork is far from. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I love the fact that I don't know if I know you're not a big superhero person, but for me personally, seeing this character Ashton of Hulkling kind of fulfilling his destiny as this Kree Skrull hybrid thing or whatever, like it's an interesting way to kind of like bring back some of the elements of Young Avengers into the story. So I'm all for it. I'm excited for this one. It's actually kind of an interesting event. This I think is flying under people's radar a little bit. So
Yeah.
definitely keep an eye out for it because I think it's actually going to be really good and actually really cool. On that note, how about a little social swamp? So yeah, this one's a doozy, and we're going to try not to trip over our own feet on this one, but here we go. Social swamp time.
Okay, so we asked you guys a very big question that seems to return constantly. Is it possible to separate the art from the artist? And it's a hard one to unpack, and people had a lot of feelings, so let's jump into some of our responses. Cora said, I would still appreciate the artwork, but would no longer support the artist by paying for further works. Samantha said, I hate finding out terrible things about creators of things I love because it then makes me feel like I shouldn't still enjoy the work. I think you can distance it some, but it will always be attached to the artist. Christopher said, I don't know that it is possible to separate the two. I know that the work I create is connected to what I've experienced and learned, so I feel like I'm possibly conveying that through my work. I have to assume the same is true for other artists. When I've learned of artists doing terrible things, it made me question their work and my interpretation of it. Matt said, for me in particular, I think I had to. If not, I couldn't read Batman. Bob Kane was a terrible person, ruining Bill Finger's life chief amongst those things. But Batman has become so much bigger than the one that created him. He's transcended the medium of just being a comic book character and has become a symbol of so many people. Sorry that I can't read, guys. Natalie said, I think one of the ugliest aspects of humanity is the unreasonable standards that we hold each other to. How perfect does a person have to be to receive love, kindness, forgiveness? Of course, if a person commits criminal acts, they should be held accountable to the law, but people need to stop trying to make other people into gods because we are all far from perfect. Stop demonizing other human beings and instead try to help them grow into a better person.
I actually really like that. I think that last one is actually a really interesting view of it. I actually really like the Bob Kane one too. And actually, if you notice, the image of this week's thumbnail is actually Bob Kane being pulled apart from Batman, right? So why do we ask this, right? Now, I'm not going to delve too much into it because, I mean, truthfully, I'm not going to delve too much into it because it's just ugly. Like, it's just an ugly bit of business. There's just we've talked about cancel culture in the past on this show. And there have been a string of very troubling accusations of running around in the comic book industry right now. And the question at the heart of all these conversations, whether people present it that way or not, is like, well, can I still enjoy this stuff? after I found out this thing about this particular person. And it's difficult. It's very difficult. I'm actually curious what your thoughts are on it, Ashton, because I think that I think in particular, I think it's good to have a woman's perspective on this, to be honest.
Oh, I appreciate that. I think it's really difficult. And I think this is a conversation that extends far beyond just the comic book industry. You know, anywhere that anybody is creating, this is a conversation that needs to be had. I think the important part here, I think, is there needs to be some sort of like, although unfortunate, an acknowledgement of brilliance. And like one of the first things that came to mind, and this is not the best example ever, is Casey Affleck, who was in Manchester by the Sea and won an Oscar for it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just before the Academy Awards, had a load of sexual assault allegations. And so it's like, was his performance any less incredible because of that? No. And that's true for a lot of things. Like, does it make your art less incredible? Does it make your song less incredible? Does it make whatever less incredible? No, it doesn't. And you need to acknowledge that. But, and I don't know, I think it's a hard thing to unpack past at least that part, because then now you have all these feelings of like guilt associated with it. And it's like, this is a conversation, Troy, you and I had when everything with R. Kelly first started. It's like his music slaps, but he's problematic.
Right. We, just to clarify, we had this conversation not on the show.
Right.
But yes, that's a very good point.
To if I had to pick one side or the other, do I think you can separate the artist from the art? No. I don't think you can. On like a human level, you can't, because that thing came from somewhere. It came from a person. So you can't experience this thing without acknowledging that it came from a person. I do think actually one of the viewers, followers, whatever word you want to use, made a good point in that it's like the pedestal's so high at this point that it's like anything will get you canceled. And there's a little bit of like, I think cancel culture is romanticized, and that's part of our problem too.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gone so far off track, but like you said, it's really hard to unpack, and I don't think there is any clear answer here that it's like you can or cannot. I think even me sitting here saying, yeah, no, you can't, then there's like a list of caveats that go along with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like, actually, I'm glad you brought up the cancel culture thing again, because the one thing or the pedestal being so high, right? Because I kept making Doja Cat jokes yesterday, right?
Right.
on our game night. It was because she got canceled, I guess, like a few weeks ago for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. But like, it's interesting to me to see people, even when we did the cancel culture episode, like like it was like a couple of months back.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see people yelling at us saying that cancel culture doesn't exist. You know, like that's not a real thing.
That's a lie.
Which is, I think, is an absolute lie. It's an absolute fabrication, because I swear to you, every week, like I want to say like last like maybe 3 or 4 weeks, if I've gone on Twitter on the weekend, which is always a mistake, right?
Yes.
I see the hashtag blank blah 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 is canceled party.
Yeah.
Cancel culture exists. Like whether you want to agree with, whether you want to see that or not, it does exist. And yeah, you know, it's complicated. I don't want to lean on that too much. But for me personally, if you had asked me a year ago that if an artist puts themselves into the art, every artist puts himself into the art, and therefore their outside actions are inform what you're reading, I would have said no. I would have said absolutely not. Now I think it's a little bit murkier, and I can't honestly say no. But that said, I do have to now invoke the scale of awful.
Right. Well,
right. The scale of awful. And the scale of awful to me is very simple. It seesaws between bad form versus what is illegal. Like, you know,
okay.
And so I'll give you a perfect example of this. See, I don't even want to use this example, but all right. Kanye West uses bad form
all the time.
All the time.
Nonstop.
But are the things he's doing illegal? No, they are not. You know? And I would say on the opposite side of things, and I don't even want to use this example because it's an allegation, but I kind of feel some kind of way about it. I'll say Bryan Singer, right? We were talking about the X-Men movies earlier, right? Mm-hmm. On the opposite side of things, depending on how you feel about it, not a lot of things that he's done aren't legal. Like, you know what I mean? And so, or a lot of things that people are accusing him of doing, I should say,
Right.
are not legal. And so I can't really enjoy, not that I did in the first place, but well, that's not true. But I can't really enjoy X-Men 2 as like the way I used to when I first saw it, when I didn't know those things. You know what I mean? And so I also want to point out, for me personally, if your discretions, if the things you've done fall on the bad form side, right? An apology goes a long way with me.
Oh, interesting.
And I feel like, and again, I want to iterate, if it's on the side of bad form, if you did something that was just bad form, right? And you apologize for it, I'm okay with that. Like, I got to be honest with you. Like, it's, if you did something illegal, then then I have to ask myself, okay, there's something in you that thought that was okay. You know what I mean? But if you just did something that's kind of frowned upon traditionally and maybe just not convenient for people to hear, or whatever it is, and you apologize for it, I have to ask myself, okay, at what point do we just say let them go? Let that person go. Like, just let them be free, because at the end of the day, I think that cancel culture, right, is the people that can't accept an apology are the ones who are they're the ones who salivate at these opportunities to cancel people. You know what I mean? And every little small thing that they do will be nitpicked because they just want to control people.
Absolutely. And I think there's some element there too of like loving drama. Like, I feel like drama is romanticized as well, and that's part of it. And it's like there's nothing to gain from that. Like, all that's doing is hurting other people and exhausting yourself. But to go back to what you were saying on the scale of awful, and to maybe kind of wrap this all the way up, I wonder, like, I can't help but feel like that it's not possible to separate the artist from the art, in that, like, part of the reason why you, like, it feels to me like whenever you engage with some piece of art that someone has done that has now done something horrible, and you feel guilty for engaging with that piece of art, like, that kind of goes to show that you can't separate the two, because you wouldn't feel like a certain way about it if you were truly disconnected from the artist and just enjoying the art. Like, the reason you feel that way is because they're intrinsically linked and you can't remove yourself. And it kind of applies across the board to, like, bad form and also illegal activity.
Right. Yeah. It runs a gamut. Actually, Johnny, do we have any comments in here? Joseph actually says, and aside, my favorite movie is Silver Linings Playbook, and it's a Weinstein Company film. I've been torn ever since because that movie changed my life. Oh, wow. See? And that's a difficult thing to ask. I have a copy of the Grindhouse poster floating somewhere in this house. And it stars Rose McGowan, and it's produced by Harvey Weinstein. Like, you know what I mean? And am I going to take the poster down? No, because at the time I didn't know anything about any of this.
Right.
But on the flip side, I also kind of have to make the argument that according to the director of the Rose McGowan movie on Grindhouse, he cast her as a kind of middle finger to Harvey Weinstein. So, you know what I mean? So there's and that's kind of the interesting thing about a lot of these projects, like these when it's a lot of these things is like when a creator does something bad, but you're part of a collaboration, right? It becomes even more difficult for me to just kind of dismiss the work. Like, you know what I mean? It'd be one thing if you were like, Vincent Van Gogh or Leonardo da Vinci, and then something awful came out about them, not that I really pay much attention to any of these people, either one, but like something came out about them, and I decided that I can't buy a Van Gogh anymore, which is never going to happen, right? But with something like movies and comics, it's like you're kind of, to cancel the work means that you're canceling everybody who's collaborating on that project. So it gets a little bit murkier, and like that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody involved in that project was aware of what happened, or that they necessarily, or that they even co-sign what happens, so anyway, all right, we're at the 40-minute mark. Let's move on to the polls. But thank you, Ashton. I thought that was actually really interesting, and I appreciate all the comments we got from people over the last couple of days in regards to that. We had some really good ones, and I didn't even get to highlight all of them. So Let's talk about this week's poll. Like, what do we have this week, Ashton? You did one that was pretty fiery.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So Star Wars fans never cease to amaze me in how willing they are to get down in the weeds about something.
I would say you're probably in the same boat, though.
100%. 100%. Which is why this particular poll appealed to me so much. So, you know, like I've been on this Avatar bender, and of course I'm a ridiculous Star Wars fan. So I was like, let's pit these against each other. So I asked everyone whose descent into madness cost them more between Azula and Anakin. And I have to say, like, she got even more of the vote than I was expecting. Like, I know the obvious answer is Anakin. I was expecting this to be like a 90-10 blowout. So she did better than I expected.
Okay. Yeah, look at that. And also on Twitter, I was across the board. Nice.
Yeah. But what this did was open up, everyone was pretty much, what this did was open up a can of worms about two things. One, whose was more self-inflicted. And people seem to be very, very willing to overlook a lot of the things Azula did because she was 14 at the time.
Interesting. Okay.
Like they were just like she's allowed to murder and cause mayhem because she's 14 and just the product of her crazy dad. And I'm like,
She also has supernatural powers, so I don't know if that's acceptable. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then the other thing that it opened up that I want to get your opinion on is whether or not Anakin deserved his redemption arc. That seemed to be something everyone was worried about.
Interesting.
So, Troy,
oh,
did
God.
he deserve his redemption?
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot on this one. You know, I have never been as obsessed with the legend of Darth Vader as some people have. So, no. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say he didn't deserve his redemption. I'm going to go that route. And the reason I'm going to say that is because he killed kids, which is like sort of this weird thing that, like, look, we all know that the prequels came after the original film, right? But in the framing of the original film, you're sort of like, if you're just watching the original trilogy,
right?
You're kind of sitting there like, okay, yeah, he did some dark side stuff. He choked a couple of people,
what
like,
about
you know.
Alderaan?
Okay, yeah, well, no, he committed genocide too. That's absolutely true. So, yeah, no, I can't give Vader a pass. I can't give Anakin a pass. I'm sorry. I don't think he deserves his redemption arc. I don't think his Force skills should have popped up on Endor at the end. I think he should have just called her. I'm also of the belief that the prequels should not have happened. I think they did more damage to Vader than good. DJ Young, you don't come back from Kid Massacre. That was my go-to. And then Ashton reminded me of the fact that he basically killed his daughter's entire planet.
Yeah, and he also like happily murdered all of those Jedi Padawan in episode 3.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't give him to him. Like Vader deserves to burn in lava for that one, I think. I think we should have just left it there. So I also did a poll last week. This was brought on actually because, well, first of all, I was watching Scott Pilgrim versus the World, just kind of randomly. Look, we're all stuck at home, so anything goes, right?
Tell me about it.
I actually got a new appreciation for the movie, actually rewatching it because I hadn't seen it in a while. Johnny just typed, Troy can't separate Darth Vader from his art of killing younglings.
Oh!
That was his masterpiece. That's what that was. I just
Oh my God.
Sorry. Anyway, I caught my attention like in the corner of my eye. I was like, wait a minute, what? And yeah. But anyway, so I was watching Scott Pilgrim last week, and Captain America is traditionally considered the top fighter in the Marvel universe, right? It's down to him and Wolverine and maybe Taskmaster, I want to say. And so I got me kind of thinking, I was like, well, Scott Pilgrim's the greatest fighter in all of Canada.
Okay.
And Scott Pilgrim's ability to fight kind of defies all sorts of laws of like reality and physics and all sorts of stuff. So I asked him, I was like, hey guys, who's the better fighter? And people went for Captain America like over Scott Pilgrim, which didn't really surprise me all that much. But I actually kind of want to see this fight now. Yeah, like it was 29.2% to Cap 70%. So, I mean, I wouldn't say a blowout, but kind of a blowout.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily fair because like Scott Pilgrim produced a sword from his heart. So, it's like Scott Pilgrim's almost like the Hulk in that like the madder he gets, the stronger he gets. But I
Yeah.
feel like with Scott Pilgrim, it's the more conscious or like responsible or adult, the more he takes on adult emotions, the stronger he gets. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. Like I would say you guys should probably revisit that. I don't think it's as cut and dry as you think it is.
I don't know. I watched Endgame again over the weekend with my
Mhm.
boyfriend who, for
Mhm.
whatever weird reason, like has a problem with Captain America.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like never explained why. He just was like really on a bender about like Captain America sucks.
What?
Yeah, right.
I'm upset by this. Your boyfriend's Hydra, by the way. Okay, go ahead.
And I told him, I was like, you realize Captain America is just like Marvel's Superman. Like you love Superman. And he was like, no. I'm like, yes.
You know what? For the sake of your argument, I'm going to say yes, Ashton. You are correct.
You know what? And I know that's not true. Like I know it's not, and I know it's not that
there's some
simple. But I
parallels.
was like, I was kind. It's close enough that I could use it against him.
Right? Yeah.
But for that simple reason, I have to pick Captain America because I feel like I've been defending this man for the last 5 days, and I'm just gonna keep it rolling.
Okay, I'm with it. And you know what? And I am on Team Cap. So even during Civil War, I was on Team Cap. So I'm with it. Actually, do we have some more comments, Johnny? What are these comments about? Oh, Tobias. Whoa, this is live? Yeah, it is live. Hey, how about that? What's up, Troy? What's up, Tobias? How's it going, man? Listen, don't sleep on Scott Pilgrim. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's on some like mystical powers type thing. I don't know what's going on. So I don't like Cap myself. Okay, Joseph, that's enough of you. Enough of Joseph.
All right, relax.
Anyway, all right, Ashton. How about we do a comic shop shout out so we can get out of here?
Oh crap!
You don't know where
that. I lost my note card again. Oh, thank you.
Okay, there you go.
I need to knock it off with these note cards. I need to like write it in a notebook.
Okay, I mean whatever works for you.
Yeah, but I keep losing the note cards. Anyway, this week's comic shop shout out goes to Madness Games and Comics from Todd Emerson, and he also threw in the hashtag Back the Comeback.
Cool.
So
Thank you.
If you want us to spotlight your shop on the show, find us on social media, tag your shop if they have a handle, and also use the hashtag Back the Comeback, and we will find your shop, we will spotlight them, and we will give them love because we love all comic shops.
Yeah. And actually follow the hashtag Back the Comeback if you're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Actually, not Facebook, because Facebook sucks with hashtags. But
yeah,
because it's a way to show your support for your local comic book store. If you're not familiar already, this Back the Comeback initiative is basically our way of just highlighting comic shops, highlighting what they're doing during the pandemic, highlighting how they're getting around any number of the things that 2020 is throwing at them at this point in time. And so they deserve some love. Like, they are small businesses. They are small businesses that are done out of love for the medium, for the format. And I think that that's great. And like, it's better than supporting like some massive business. So definitely give them a shout out. And actually, Johnny just reminded me, I'm going to give a shout out to Milton Glaser, who's the other person that passed away this past week. And some of you are probably going like, well, who's Milton Glaser? Milton Glaser created the DC Bullet logo, which is the most iconic DC logo out there. And when you see it, you think of DC Comics, you think of Batman, you think of Detective Comics, you think of Superman, Action Comics. It triggers an emotion in you. And that was what Milton Glaser was actually very good about. He was actually really great about doing that. He created the I Love New York image. I think Johnny actually pointed out to me, I didn't realize he did the Obama Hope image as well.
Wow.
So this is and the Madman. The Mad Men, I guess the opening credit logo or whatever. So yeah, I just want to give him a little shout out because it's comic book adjacent, of course, and we love creators, we love artists on here, and very few people have gone out of their way to created something so iconic. So there you go. On that note, let's wrap it up, huh?
Absolutely.
Just want to remind you guys to catch us on Quiplash Tuesday and Thursday. We're going to have another one tomorrow. It is at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific on Tuesdays and Thursdays. There might be a little adjustment soon to what days we do that on, but you can still catch it. It's a lot of fun. It's uncut. It is live, just like this show. And but the fun thing is that we don't have notes. So So
Train wreck.
it's a train wreck every single time. And you know what? God bless it. It's a great train wreck. I love it. Also, something else to keep an eye out for is Comic Talk. We're not doing one this week because it's a holiday week. It's almost 4th of July. So we're going to be kicking back, hopefully, and socially distancing with some fireworks and some Corona or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the right kind of Corona.
The right kind. Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. My bad. Sorry. But yeah, so hopefully you enjoy your 4th of July weekend because I plan to as well. I'm going to enjoy the extra day off. And I guess that's it. Am I forgetting anything else? I don't think I am. No. Hey guys, thanks for joining us for Previous World Weekly. We'll see you guys here again next week, and we'll be back with another comic talk next week. And hey, back to come back. And I'm Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I am Ashton Greenwood.
And we will see you guys at the Spinner Rack.